Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another craptastic episode of the Marlar Music Show. My name is David. Hope everyone is doing very well out there today, no matter where you are and what you are doing. Today's episode is going to be part 2 of Kiss studio albums released in October. Review slash ranking, more of a review than ranking. Last week I did part 1 of 3 albums. We did Monster, we did Sonic Boom, we did Hot in the Shade. That leaves the other 3 this week that we're going to review. Is going to be Hotter Than Hell, Creatures of the Night, and Carnival of Souls. So without further ado, let's go! Yes!
He's Marlar, and this is his music show.
Alright guys, so as I did last week, we're going to do this kind of in order of date of release as far as the day of the month. The first one that we're going to do today is Hotter Than Hell, which came out on the 22nd of October in 1974. This album for me is my favorite of their first 3. I know that, you know, over the years, you know, their first album has a lot of iconic songs. They've probably done as many or more songs off of that album historically than any other, except for maybe Destroyer. A lot of very good songs on there, but Hotter Than Hell for me has always resonated. There's just something about it. As far as the songs, you know, the production wasn't quite that good as with the first one, Dressed to Kill. Most versions of these songs off of Alive are much better versions, just like the other 2. But the songs on here, I think, have a little bit more edge for the most part. You know, you look at Parasite, Hotter Than Hell, Let Me Go, Rock and Roll, Watching You. Those are some of my favorites on that album. I love all of those songs. And you've got some really, you know, you got some gems in there. You've got, you know, Got to Choose is a really good song. Going Blind's a really good song. You know, you can just keep going and going. There's it has a lot of good songs on it. A lot of things that they've, you know, wrote over the years leading up to the release while they were still trying to get signed. Strange Ways is a good song. Coming Home's a good song, especially the acoustic version of Coming Home on Unplugged. You know, so yeah, this one for me is one of my all-time favorites. I'll be posting a video soon of my top 10 favorite Kiss studio albums of all time. And just a little bit of spoiler, this will be on the list somewhere, because this to me is a really good album. I think it's the strongest of their first 3, and you know, one of the best albums I've ever released, and an album that they released in October. So that's just kind of a take on that one. I think it's really good, love it a lot, and so we're going to move on. So the other 2 for this month that were released were Carnival of Souls and Creatures of the Night, both on the 28th of the month. And so I'm going to do these in order of my ranking of them, which is probably going to be obvious to everybody, especially, you know, depending upon your thoughts about Carnival of Souls. So that's where we're going next, Carnival of Souls. You know, so Carnival of Souls is maybe the most unique album in the Kiss catalog for a couple of reasons. Number one, they never put out anything really that sounded even close. It's got a little bit of revenge tones on here a little bit for a couple of songs, like Hate maybe. But it's also, you know, when they recorded this in late 94 or early 95, I think, sometime in that period before they did Unplugged convention thing, you know, they started recording it right in the middle of the grunge takeover, so to speak. where Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, all these guys were selling all these albums and kind of much taking over the rock radio waves. Things were leaning that direction. Heavy metal / hard rock was taking a back seat. And so Kiss kind of, once again, which they had done several times in their career up to this point, they adjusted their sound to kind of fit with the times. You know, if you think back to Dynasty and Unmasked, kind of disco popish, to go along with the disco craze that had taken over the United States, you know, in the late 70s. And then fast forward several years to Asylum, Crazy Nights era, was more of a glam metal feel, you know, as opposed to just a metal hard rock feel. Once again, between 85, 87, 88, that's what was selling, that's what was out there, and Kiss adjusted themselves to, once again, fit in with, and if you want to say conform or sell out, so be it, but fit in with what was out there at the time. So, Carnival of Souls, they start recording it, 94, 95, whenever. And I, excuse me, was highly anticipating this because, you know, they put out Revenge. It was a very good album, the best one they had done in years, in my opinion. Very successful tour, which I unfortunately didn't get to see. I had tickets, but Paul got sick, yada yada yada. Missed it, they never rescheduled. I was pissed about that for a while. I eventually got over it, although sometimes it's still a sticking point. So this album I was anticipating because I had never seen the lineup with Eric Singer and Bruce Kulick. Was looking forward to that, new music, whatever. And a couple of songs had leaked. I think Hate had leaked. I can't remember what else had kind of leaked. And I remember hearing those and thinking, those are pretty good. They're a little different, but they're pretty good. So then they go on their Unplugged thing, the convention tour, and then they do the Unplugged MTV thing, and then all of a sudden, here we go with Reunion, and this gets put on the back burner. So it's like, all right, is it ever going to see the light of day? A lot of people didn't think it would. And then for some reason, in the middle of the Reunion tour, they decided to release this. Kind of strange timing to release it. I feel like that it might should have been better suited for maybe a sixth disc on the box set or something. But anyway, it is what it is. They put it out when they put it out. And I remember a friend of mine, when this album came out, they released The Jungle as a single. And it got played on the radio. And I remember a friend of mine, I saw him one day and he said, hey, maybe heard a new Kiss song? I said, yeah, it's pretty good, you know, whatever. He said, well, it's kind of a departure from, you know, kind of something you wouldn't really expect from the original Kiss. I said, dude, this isn't the original Kiss. This is Gene, Paul, Bruce, and Eric Singer. He said, oh. So it was very strange that they released it when they did. But I'm glad they did release it. It was, you know, something I listened to many times to try and get a take on it. Now, this album is not one that's going to be in that top 10 list. To me, it's in their bottom 10. But I will say this about it. It's got a lot of really good songs. You know, Hate's a good song. Childhood Ends a very good song. I Will Be There is a good song. You know, The Jungle's a really good song. You go on down, I Love in the Mirror, and then you've got, at the end of it, I Walk Alone, which is Bruce Kulick's, unless I'm totally mistaken, his debut vocal on a Kiss album, and the only one he ever did, and I think it's a really good song. And this album is, I think it's really solid. A lot of people compare it with The Elder in terms of its departure from their sound or sounds, but Kiss has always done that. And, you know, does it fall? I think it's better than The Elder, you know. However, is it a good album? Yes. Is it a good Kiss album? That's debatable. And that's kind of, I've always thought of The Elder. It's a really good album, just maybe not a good Kiss album. Carnival of Souls kind of falls in with this, but I like it better than The Elder. And I think it's something that, I don't know that they've ever played anything off of this live. Maybe on a cruise or something. It would have been nice to have seen them do a song or two off of this just to see how it came off live. But this album is one that I think is, by a lot of Kiss fans, by a lot of non-diehard Kiss fans, is overlooked a little bit because it didn't get a lot of radio play. It didn't come out, at a time where they were what they were. They were, when it came out, when they were on a reunion tour with Ace and Peter, and they never toured off of it. One of the few albums they never toured off of either. So it didn't get a lot of traction in that way. But I think it's a really good album. And it's one that I go back to sometimes and listen to and go, it just shows how diverse this band has been over their career. And one thing about it too, it just proved even further to me how great of a guitar player that Bruce Kulick is. I've always said that, I mentioned in my Kiss guitarist ranking video that, I thought he was the best guitarist that they've ever had. I'm sticking to that. And how he progressed over the years he was with the band. And I think, even between Revenge and this, he progressed even more. And it shows in the playing on this album. So I think it's a really good album. I think it's one that deserves a listen to from Kiss fans if you haven't heard it in a while, just to give it some fresh ears and see what you think. So anyway, that's my take on Carnival of Souls, released October 28th of 1997. And so lastly, we go to, released on October 28th of 1982. I believe it was 82. Let me look here and make sure I'm right about that. 1982. Is Creatures of the Night. This album, guys, is one of the best albums they've ever done, bar none. It is fantastic. Spoiler, this will also be in my top 10 list. This album was interesting because they still had the makeup on. They had Ace on the cover, even though Ace had nothing to do with the album. He was in a few of the promos early on. Vinny had done a lot of songwriting, had done a lot of, he didn't do the video for All Of It Loud, but he toured with this album. And so I may get a lot of shit for this, and that's fine. I want it. Let's talk about things, okay? That's what Kiss fans do. This is one of my favorite albums from Kiss of all time. I think it's one of their best, bar none. Now, I also did not give Vinnie Vincent a very high ranking in my Kiss guitarist ranking a couple weeks ago. Okay. But the thing about it for me is this album was not all about Vinnie Vincent. All right. Did he have a huge part to play in this album and the sound of it? Absolutely he did. Absolutely. War Machine, I Love It Loud, Creatures of the Night, I Still Love You. You can just go on and on and on with this. Saint and Sinner's a great song. Keep Me Coming's a good song. Danger, one of my favorite songs on the album. He contributed greatly to the sound of this album. But so did Eric Carr. And so did Paul and Gene. And so, does this album sound the way it does? Is it as good as it is without Vinnie Vincent in the band? Probably not. Probably not. However, I still stick to my ranking of Vinnie in that, this album was great, and he put out another great one, helped him put another great one, Lick It Up. I get it. I don't think it makes him that high on the guitarist list for Kiss. Technically, he may have been the best. He may have been. But he couldn't let this overcome everything. And so that's a conversation. Look, if you haven't seen my video on the Kiss guitarist rank, please watch it. I go through all that over there. But back to this album. This album came out at a time that was very transitional for them. They had just come off a trifecta of Dynasty, Unmasked, and The Elder, which gradually got worse as you went on, and then really got bad between Unmasked and The Elder, just fucking plummeted. And so they needed an album that was going to show that they still had balls, punch, that they could still belt out very good stuff. This is their heaviest album probably to date up until this, or one of them. And it set the groundwork for everything that followed. I don't think at the time that they put this out they were planning on taking the makeup off necessarily, but I believe that this album set the groundwork for a few years to come, and I think that they put this album out, and in the makeup, and they've literally got two different characters, Eric and Vinny, wearing different makeup. I think if this album had been right up there in terms of sound with The Elder or with Unmasked, they probably would have been done. They really would have been done. The sound on this album, the quality of the songs, the balls that the songs have, I think this album saved their career. I think it allowed them to continue to carry on. I don't think without this album they could have taken the makeup off and it worked. Maybe Lick It Up is the album. That's obviously the album that took the makeup off, and maybe you say, well, that's the one that saved their career. Maybe it is. I think between the two things, between the sound of this album and them taking the makeup off for Look It Up, I think those two things combined is what saved their career and allowed them to carry on through the 80s and early 90s and get back to a reunion with Ace and Peter, and then carry on even further, and so, like I said, this album's got so many great songs: Creatures of the Night, Saint and Sinner, War Machine, I Love It Loud, I Still Love You, Danger, Killer. It's just, it goes on and on and on. It's a fantastic album. It is one of 6 albums they released in October, and I think it's the best of all of them. And like I said, you will see in my video upcoming, my top 10 favorite Kiss albums of all time, that this one is on that list. We won't say any more than that it is there, so stay tuned, okay? So, yeah, anyway, that's where I'm going to end this. This is kind of short and sweet for me, but I just wanted to finish out this series of 1 or 2. Also wanted to let you know that I released back earlier this week, or this past week, late last week, Kiss Alive the movie. I am currently working on doing Kiss Alive 2 the movie. Trying to get footage together, going to sync it up with the Alive 2 album like I did with the other one. There'll be some extra songs in there that weren't on Alive 2. A few different things, but yeah, I'm working on that, so stay tuned on that. I'm not going to say when it's coming out. It's going to take a minute for me to do that with everything I've got going on, but it will be out there as soon as I can. I promise you that. And I appreciate all of you over the past couple of weeks for the traction you've given me, for the views that you've given me on the channel and supporting it. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you will continue to do so, even if it's not Kiss related. Look, Kiss is my favorite band. I could talk about them all day, talk about every album all day, tours all day, rank a bunch of stuff, and I will get to that stuff. I will. But I've got a lot of other bands I love as well. And I just released a video about Mike Portnoy rejoining Dream Theater. And if you like Dream Theater at all, I would appreciate you taking a look at that video, or even if you don't, maybe it'll get you into them and get you listening to them or whatever. Yeah, I try to keep this channel. I don't want it just to be a Kiss channel. I love Tool. I haven't done really a video on Tool yet. That's coming very soon. They're back on tour, and I'm going to go see them in about a week in Knoxville. And then in January, they're coming here to Atlanta. I'm going to that show as well. So I'll be posting some stuff about them in the near future as well. So I'm trying to keep this channel, diverse and not just, just Kiss, because you can't. I could probably post 2 videos a week about Kiss, but I like to keep things fresh. And we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. So, it's not called the Kiss Show. It's called the Marlar Music Show. And I do this in order to share with y'all my love of the music that I love and talk about it and hopefully get feedback from you guys. So, having said that, as far as this video goes, these 3 albums that we talked about today, comment back. Let me know what you think about these, where you think they rank amongst Kiss albums, what you think about my commentary on them. Love to start a conversation with you. Love feedback and interaction between me and y'all and the other viewers commenting back and forth. I love to see that, guys. Absolutely. Before you do that, though, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you can know when new content comes out immediately. And that way you can watch this and realize you need to move on to something else probably. So anyway, that's all for today. And until I see you guys in the next video, I'm going to sign off as I always do and say, be good to each other, be good to yourselves, and life will be good to you. Peace.